Hi friends, I'm Jeffy G. Universal Audio makes some of the best professional plugins. And while I started with just a handful that worked with my Apollo audio interface, somehow along the way I've accumulated more than 46. And it's not like I only use Apollo plugins. I try to focus on using the plugins that came with my preferred DAW, which is Logic. But I also use plugins from Izotope and from Waves Audio and other vendors. Sometimes it's just overwhelming. I have so many reverbs, so many digital delays, so many compressors. How do you know which ones to use? I've analyzed what I've got and I've come up with a strategy, and in this video I'll explain what works for me.
When I bought my Apollo X4, there was something called the Heritage Edition, and this was great value. You were getting the X4 and the features I was looking for, which were the 4 unison processors, the 6 outputs, full ADAT. But you were also getting a bunch of plugins, and 27 plugins in all were included. Channel strips, some compressors, a bunch of EQs, and some special effects. So they were giving you something to get started with, which was great. And at the time that I ordered it, there was a special on 6 more plugins, including the Antares Auto-Tune Real-Time, the P34 Tape Echo, and the Oxide Tape Recorder. So the bottom line was I was getting roughly 30 plugins right out of the gate, and to be honest, I had no idea how to use any of them. Today, if you order any Apollo audio interface, you're going to get the hardware, but you're also going to get some other things. So it does come with some plugins. You can either order the Essentials package where you get 20 or up to 50, and you can find out what's included by taking a look at this list. So with the Essentials, you're getting 6 channel strips or preamps that work with those unison preamps. You're getting 7 compressors, some EQs, some special processing effects, and they're throwing in things like the Polymax synth, some delays, reverbs, and guitars and basses. If you upgrade to the studio assortment of plugins, you're going to get just more of those things and some of the latest UAD plugins. So the idea that you're getting just the hardware without the plugins on your initial buy is wrong.
I gotta confess, I'm always impressed with the latest and greatest new thing. In many cases, I've bought additional plugins because they were included in a bundle, and it's far less expensive to buy them together than individually. But what's really going on there is I'm buying things that I think I'm going to use in the future, not things that I need today. If you can separate the stuff that you need today versus the stuff that you need in the future and postpone buying that stuff, you can save a lot of money.
They don't lay out all the plugins in a particular order that I would find useful. So I've done that here to help you understand what I have and what I use. All of the channel strips are really top-notch. They're excellent. And if you're just starting out and you don't understand how to use a channel strip, I'd recommend using the Universal Audio 610B. But at the end of the day, there's really only 2 of these that I use all the time. One is the Neve 1033 collection, which I just like the sound of Sun City and the Neve consoles, so I tend to use that the most. And I also use the API Vision channel strip, which I find to be very flexible. When it comes to compression, lots of choices in the plugins that I have, but surprisingly, the one I use the most is the UA 1176. Occasionally, I do use the Teletronics LA2A, but most of the time, I can get what I need from the 1176. With EQ, I tend to focus on just one thing, and that is the Pultec Passive EQ collection, which comes with 3 or 4 different EQs from Pultec, but I tend to use those. Reverb and delay, again, lots of choices. There's some things here that I bought that sound great, I just don't use them a lot. What I tend to use a lot is the Galaxy Tape Echo, which looks and behaves a lot like the Roland. I use the Lexicon 224 digital reverb, and I use the Pure Plate reverb. When it comes to tape and saturation, I've had the Oxide tape recorder a long time, so I tend to put that in. And then I bought the Ampex ATR 102, which I don't do a lot of mastering, but I'm getting into that. And the more I get into that, the more I like this particular plugin. With Auto-Tune, I've had different versions of the popular Antares Auto-Tune. And the version that I'm using is the Real-Time Advanced version. There's actually a newer version available, but I didn't see that it offers me a lot, so I didn't see why I would pay to upgrade. Now, among the synths that are offered by UAD, Polymax synth is very popular, and sometimes you can get it for free or as little as $10. The Opal morphing synth is also unique. I tend to use that a lot. For guitar and bass amp modeling, I've always liked the Ampeg SVT. I do use the Fender 55 Tweed and, of course, the Marshall Plexi. So this is plugging your bass or your guitar into your audio interface and using these amp models. You've got lots of choice out there in the marketplace. I also use Amplitube and other products, but these take advantage of the Unison preamps. And to me, they sound most accurate if you're after Marshall, Fender, or Ampeg. There is this category of multi-effects or special plugins. A lot of the new items come delivered this way. One of the popular ones that was recent last year is the Top Line Vocal Suite Collection, which kind of consolidates the best of UAD plugins into one. So it gives you one interface for modeling your vocals. I also use the Hemisphere microphone modeling software. I wouldn't use that if I didn't already own microphones from UAD. There's other things on this list that I've bought that I plan to use, but I haven't used them yet. So the UAD Sound City Studio plugin is really cool. I just haven't made great use of it. Now, if you're new to the Apollo world or the world of universal audio plugins, one of the things you're going to have to get your head around is the notion that you can use the UA console as a digital mixer for recording things on the way into your DAW. And this is really the power of the complete system. And this is where you can use UAD plugins real time without any latency. So for example, here on channel 1, you're hearing the mic I'm speaking through, which is an SD1, but I have other mics available on the 4 Unison channels that are built into my Apollo X4. So if you take a look at that first channel, I might use the API Vision channel strip because it has EQ and compression and gating and features built into it, just like having a console. In other cases, I really like the Neve 1073. And another one that I really enjoyed when I started using this was the very simple UAD 610. And these each have a different set of controls and parameters to manage the color of your sound, which is going to be printed to your DAW. And when you start, you may just experiment with some of these to hear what they sound like with different microphones. Another plugin I'm using is called Hemispheres, which is a mic modeling plugin that allows you to control things like a filter, proximity, the axis of the mic. You can use this to take a very basic mic like this SD1 dynamic mic and modify the sound of the mic in different ways, having it emulate different mics. Now, Hemisphere isn't for everybody, but I've found it to be quite useful. I'm also likely to have some compression, and I'm a bit of a diehard 1176 user. I'm also a fan of the Pultec style EQs. And like a lot of producers, I will resort back to a Teletronics LA2A. The Lexicon 224 digital reverb is a classic, and it sounds great. I'm also inclined to use the Pure Plate reverb, and I usually use that on a bus channel testing. So even on my microphone here, I can adjust, just as I would on a mixing console, how much signal is sent to the Pure Plate reverb. In addition to that Lexicon delay, I'm likely to use this Galaxy Tape Echo. There you go. I'm managing all these plugins just like I had the physical hardware, but it's all being done digitally on my computer on the way in.
If you found this video interesting and useful, click on the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. For whatever reason, I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I have a lot of views. So if you think this is good, consider subscribing, click on the notification bell, add comments or questions. I respond to everybody's comments and questions. Thanks for watching.